Well, thanks so much for everyone to coming out. My name is Patrick Findaro. I'm managing partner at Visa Franchise, and we support foreign investors looking to immigrate to the U.S. Through investments in franchises. A little bit about my firm. We work with different investments in different franchise industries, all the way from someone that's looking for an investment that's secure for them and their family and to manage the visa, to multi-unit operators are looking to create a mini empire with multiple units of the franchise. So we work with different types of entrepreneurs of all different types of backgrounds across the globe. We're based in Miami, Florida, which is pretty strategic. Most of our clients are looking to open up businesses in Florida, Texas, California, constantly traveling between those states, as well as a lesser extent the Eastern Seaboard and up in California, or up in Pacific Northwest. My role is really to be a matchmaker, understanding your skill set, where you want to be living, what type of businesses that we could look at together, and see a few different options that match your profile, and then give you as much information as possible and have you make the ultimate decision. A little bit about my firm. So I started this pretty recently last year with my brother. I have experience in banking, finance and consulting, both on the credit side and a little on the deal side. And then in the past few years I've been working with investments that qualify for investor visas, principally the EB-5, where I was a junior partner at a small private equity fund where we gave loans to franchises like Dunkin' Donuts. So that's how I entered in the space of franchising, as well as with the investor visas, always working alongside immigration attorneys. And then my brother worked at RBI, Restaurant Brands International, where he was in finance, market analytics, and development for Burger King, and also working with Tim Hortons, based not too far from here. Partners are key. Questions about taxes, it's questions about immigration, or just simple account opening, or banks that are giving lending to foreign nationals. Those are things that I've helped my clients with, not me, because I'm most focused on just evaluating and finding the best franchise opportunities for you, but with my strategic partners that, based here in Toronto, as well as based throughout many major US cities. So it's extremely key because, it's a major decision moving your family to the US, and we want to make sure that it's as smooth as possible from both a business perspective as well as the personal side of it. The U.S. franchise industry is really big. It's a very diverse industry as well. Most people probably think about franchising and think fast food. That's about 50% of the industry, but there's also a lot of other ones that I'll talk about. It's growing a lot, 4% year over year, and there are a lot of different brands. So including franchises and different licenses, there's over 5,000. So it can be a pretty daunting task for someone that's looking to move to the U.S. to start evaluating a lot of these options. We had some questions earlier, investing in an existing business and, make the seller might not want to be held up. And there are some franchises, unfortunately, that don't work with foreign nationals. I've done that research. There are all different types of franchises out there that some aren't great businesses. The vast majority are not great businesses that I would introduce my clients to. So I've done a lot of the work. We've researched a lot of franchises. We have personal connections with many of the top executives at these brands, and we're here to help you. Franchise investments usually equals lower risk. There's risk involved with any business. If not, you wouldn't have a return on your capital. Looking at franchise business versus independent businesses, over a 10-year period, and this isn't just me saying, this is from the U.S. Department of Commerce, but over a 10-year period, 90% of franchise businesses are still in operation. And then if you look at the independent businesses, it's less than 20%, 18%. So, that in itself is fact enough for me to really work exclusively with franchise brands. Firms like Domenico's Gelato Go, that he's made a lot of mistakes in the beginning when he was starting his business, and you can learn a lot from his mistakes and not make the same errors. So franchises really provide you a lot of the support with ongoing training. They have a verifiable track record. The vast majority of franchisors I work with are familiar with the E2 investor program and do understand that it is a process and it can take a little more time in the evaluation, and they're happy to work with me and our immigration partners. And really, you move into the U.S., and especially if you're not established in the local community and you come in and creating your own brand, it can be quite tough. But it's different when you're coming to the U.S., investing in an established business that already has a brand presence, already has negotiated contracts with suppliers, and it's really going to facilitate a lot. And we have clients that one of the spouses will be the investor, and then the other one's going to work at a multinational bank or do something that's a little more entrepreneurial and high risk, but they have that visa tied to the franchise. And I would advise, I think that's the best thing to do if you're able to do that, and you have a spouse that might want to work outside the E2 visa company. So here are an example of some of the industries that we see poised for growth over the coming years, and we've identified some key franchises in these industries. Some might be large brands with over 100 units, 300 units, and some are just emerging concepts that the industry is really just growing right now in the U.S., and they're growing rapidly. Quick service restaurants, I like gelato, coffee, some yogurt concepts. Generally high margin, not too difficult to run. Obviously, there's a learning curve, and what's good about these concepts is you can scale up, where you start with one franchise and you create multiple units and you have economies of scale. Beauty, massage therapy, and hair salons. There are some innovative concepts in this space, and you can have some renewable revenue streams where someone's going every 2-3 weeks for a massage, or every 4 to 6 weeks for a guy to get a haircut. So you have that renewable revenue stream, and unless you really upset your clientele, they're going to keep going to you. Pet care, daycare services, and pet stores. These are really growing in the U.S. There's some interesting concepts both on the grooming space and as well as the pet hotels that we like for our clients. You also really have to have an affinity for pets in this space, as it's going to be not nonstop and dealing with all different sorts of animals. So real estate, everyone always asks about real estate. Can I buy a house and get an E2 visa? Bobby's probably mentioned 100 times, no. There are some concepts where you invest in a property management franchise. Perhaps a couple of the units are your own units, but then you go out to the community and you're going to get a lot of residential, commercial units under your management, and the idea is to grow up to 200, 250 units under management, and that you have scale and you leverage the technology of these property management franchisors. Education, tutoring, childcare, space that's grown over the past years, continues to grow. And then just rounding out, healthcare, senior care. There are some great concepts coming about, and especially for, if you're licensed in Canada as a nurse, doctor, and issues with transferring the license over to the States, or if you just in the business here in healthcare, and it provides a good transition to the States. So these are just some examples. There are many more, but these are the key industries that we work with.
The top franchise in US, top 5.
Top 5, I mean, looking at Subway, McDonald's, Burger King, and those concepts, they're not really interested in someone that's gonna invest in one unit. They wanna have a multi-unit developer, someone that's gonna invest in 10, 20 units. So if that's something that you're able to explore, then those are different opportunities to bring to the table.
But it's scalable, isn't it? As you said, like if you go with the big players in the market like 7-Eleven or Subway, so you start with one and then you scale.
For sure. The issue is Subway, many of them actually don't even accept foreign nationals. Subway doesn't accept foreign nationals as investors. Last time I checked, Dunkin' Donuts as well. So a lot of the big franchisors want to have someone that's already been in that community for a while and has other complementary businesses to give the license. But it's really on a case-by-case basis, and we'd have to sit down together and evaluate some opportunities. So a bit about my process, and this goes in parallel with Fadi's process on the legal side. But generally sit down with my client, have a complimentary franchise consultation, understand a bit about your background. I tell more details about my service. Then you would contract my services, and then in about 4 weeks time, I present a handful of franchises that match your profile, and then I would connect you directly to the franchisor, and you're going through the evaluation process. I provide you SWOT analysis and other information related to those franchisors, as well as an industry analysis. And then you're also able to connect with the franchisees and their system to understand how the day-to-day of the operation is, to see what you're getting yourself into. And then at that point, you decide to invest alongside your attorney. And new businesses, that it gets a little tricky with the escrow and adds an extra step. And oftentimes franchisors aren't willing to do that. There are some exceptions. But you would go ahead and go full force investing in the business. And the immigration attorneys we work with have such a high approval rate for the E2, especially for franchises, that we're quite confident about this process. Maybe just a quick note on the existing versus new businesses, because I get a lot of people that come to me after they've been looking for existing businesses. And I'll give an example of someone that recently came to my office, has been looking 1.5 years, coming back and forth to the US, had done 5+ due diligences on businesses, and always found some error where the owner had commingled personal and corporate liabilities and assets, or just the numbers were off, or they realized that it was more of imagine a B2B business, a commercial cleaning business, and the relationships between the client base and the owner were really so tight that had they bought that business, then it would be worth very little, as all the relationships were based on that one owner. So there are some exceptions where I do work with existing businesses, but it would be a case like Domenico saying, "Hey, Patrick, we'd like to sell one of our corporate units," or another franchisor selling a corporate unit, or lesser times where they have a franchisee that the franchisor approaches me and they're retiring, as Fadi had mentioned earlier.
Who would go through the due diligence? Would you help with that, or?
In terms of existing businesses, I would advise you to contract an attorney or an accountant to do the due diligence. Yeah, I'm helping on an advisory basis, showing franchises that fit your profile, and I've done my own analysis and sharing with you, but in terms of due diligence, it's the attorney or accountant.
Please speak about L1. What is L1 franchise?
So the L1 visa, depending on the franchise, you can also apply for an L1 visa through your franchise investment. It's a little trickier, but an E2 gives us a lot more flexibility in the types of franchises.